right, welcome everybody to the comic panel. I'm Cody,
I'm Jacob.
And I'm Shawenta.
and today we're going to be discussing Batman Year 100, written and drawn by Paul Pope, with I believe there is art by Jose Villarabia. And does it say where there's like lettering and all of that stuff?
Yeah, lettered by Jared K. Fletcher and John Workman.
Thank you. Yeah.
Wait, I'm confused. It's written and illustrated by Paul Pope and then colored by Jose Villarubia.
Yeah, that confused me on like the kind of credits page because it's got, author or written by, and then jumps straight to colorist, which is, well, actually it does letterer first and then colorist, like if you're reading left to right, which is kind of odd. Usually I think like artist comes before letterer, but there's a lot of words in this book in all these issues. So I guess they got credited first? I don't know.
Yeah, and also like I can't even find the credits page.
It's on the first like newspaper excerpt page.
On all of the issues or just the first one?
The first one for sure. I mean, that's what I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, okay, I see it there. Yeah. So yeah, basically though, it is written and illustrated, both pencils and inks by Paul Pope, and then color by Jose Villarabia, and letters by Jared K. Fletcher and John Workman is the colorist. Yeah, that is kind of, it's set up weird. Anyway, though, so yeah, that is what we're reading. And I picked it this week. The reason that I kind of picked it was I think somebody on Twitter was saying how cool it was, and I added it to my list. This is the first choice from my list of that I am going to pick randomly from now on.
Oh, you're in no particular order.
Yes.
Okay.
That way I don't feel bad about not picking a different one. And yeah, basically this book follows Batman in the year 2039, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, 100 years from his first appearance, basically, 1939. And basically, the United States is a police state, a full-fledged one, and there's no mystery men, caped people, superheroes, basically. Like, maybe there's Superman. That one kid had a Superman toy.
Yeah, the universe in which this comic takes place is bizarre, to say the least.
Yeah.
Because, yes, that kid has a superhero, or Superman, like, action figure that he hands off to Batman. So it implies that Superman existed at some point.
Yeah.
And then, later on in the comic, like, once everybody's like, oh man, Batman's real, we gotta find him. Like, the federal, like, officers come to the GCPD and it's like, okay, what do you have on Batman? It's like, all right, we have something from 1939, which is a reference to, like, the first, like, issue. Then they've got a weird Dark Knight Returns, like, cameo. Which implies, like, that story also happened. I think they've got one for 1986, and then they have nothing for the next, like, 40 years.
Yeah, they have one from 1966, too.
Oh, yes, 1966 as well.
Yeah, I missed the Dark Knight cameo. But
I don't know, which makes it even more bizarre, because, like, a major point of this is that, like, James Gordon is the current commissioner, but he was also the commissioner at the beginning of the Dark Knight Returns story. But they kind of retconned that as, like, the person who replaced James Gordon in the Dark Knight Returns was the commissioner the whole time, I guess? I don't know. It's weird. Like,
no,
they keep, like, annotating, like, here's some cool stuff that happened in Batman comics. Isn't that cool? It's like, yeah, it's cool, but it kind of like upsets like the rest of the comic.
Well, this Jim Gordon is original Jim Gordon's grandson, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that what
It's
you're talking about?
weird.
Well, yeah.
But he's not like referred to as like James Gordon Jr. or like James Gordon III. He's just still James Gordon, and he looks the same.
You keep saying James. Do you mean Jim, or is there...
Yes, Jim, James, interchangeable.
Okay. I was like, wow, you really like when, well, I'm Jim, but we'll name him James, just to mix it up a little.
Yeah. My understanding is that this Jim Gordon has no previous encounters with Batman and was not not part of the Dark Knight Returns or anything like that.
He doesn't even think he's real,
Yeah.
until like later issues.
But yeah, anyway, this story kind of follows basically a federal part of the federal FCP something, federal cops, no, FPC, that's right, Federal Police Corps, that's what
The
they are.
feds.
Yeah. They one of them gets shot twice, and there's very minute video footage of Batman, and it's the first time that they've seen him basically, and they're trying to capture him, but there's a lot of like unknowns going on, and Batman also is shot, and so he's trying to get to somewhere safe, and he has there's a woman who I think she definitely works for the GCPD. I think she might be like a coroner or something. And she is also like working with Batman to be like his night nurse, basically like stitching him up when he gets hurt. And his daughter is
Her daughter.
Her daughter. Yeah, her daughter is basically his Oracle, his hacker person, computer, because of course this is in the future, so there's a bunch of like fancy technology, technobabble stuff. And then there's also Robin, who doesn't do anything.
And I think his name is just
motorcycles.
I think his name is just Robin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I guess makes like the Dark Knight Rises, like when that character's name was revealed to be Robin, instead of just being dumb, makes that a Batman Year 100 reference.
I mean, that's a stretch. That's trying to...
I mean, this came out in 2008. And then Dark Knight Rises came out in 2012. So, I mean, timelines match up. I don't think Christopher Nolan thought that, but...
No, I don't think so.
You thought that was really special that they chose the name Robin?
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, so basically Batman can't remember like certain details from when he got shot, and he's trying to remember, and also the feds are trying to figure out like, who he is and how he's involved, and the Gotham City Police are trying to like, also figure out. At first they're like, this is our jurisdiction, and then they're all like, no, we're gonna work together, but like only kind of, you're still under us.
I don't even know if it's really working together. They're mostly like, give us everything you have on the Batman.
Yeah. Pretty much. And
But
then,
also, I really like how the beginning of the story, Batman is referred to in the same way someone would refer to Mothman.
yeah.
Like, the Batman.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not man. It's not beast. Is it even real? And like they have all those little sketches of people's eyewitness accounts,
Mm-hmm.
and one of them is just a bat.
Yeah.
The other's
Yeah.
just a man in a ski mask.
Yeah. I do like that idea of it. That's always fun. And then, yeah, basically, so Jim Gordon, as we've said now, the grandson of the original Jim Gordon, is the commissioner, and he's trying to like figure stuff out, and so he breaks into the crime scene and finds some video footage showing that like Batman was not the one that killed the guy, and
The federal agent, yeah.
yeah, the federal agent, and that the federal agents, you know, the agency knows that basically because they deleted all of the footage except for the auxiliary footage. And then Batman, meanwhile, breaks into their like lab headquarters because they found some of his blood because he got shot, and they can't know who he is because they know everybody's DNA apparently.
Yeah, it's a big problem. But is it ever explained why they make like a bunch of clone copies of Batman's blood sample?
I don't think that's clone copies. I think it's literally just like they have a lot of blood samples and they're just like labeling them, you know, how a normal person would with like numbers instead of like writing the name of the person on it.
Yeah.
Like having an actual system.
Okay, I guess that makes more sense. But like the way that the characters say it, it makes it sound like they're trying to make clones of Batman for some reason.
I think Batman was just like, oh my god, they didn't just put my name on it. The Batman.
I mean, you figure they put like a case number on it, because otherwise, how would the person like know?
Well, they does have the numbers.
Yeah, it has a number.
He just doesn't know them.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Which I don't understand how he figures that out either. I think he kind of just ends up destroying all of them, honestly.
He's like, yeah, I don't have time to figure it out, so I'll just blow up the whole floor. Who cares?
Yeah.
Crime.
But he also, while doing that, he goes to the morgue, the federal morgue, and he examines the dead body of the federal agent and finds a tooth that is like special,
porcelain and new.
Yeah, and basically it's a digital key with a like micro USB in it or something, and so that opens up an image that is encrypted that has notes about a flesh-eating virus that can be used as a weapon. And then
it's a really special kind of weapon, though. I do like how they signified that you can literally program it so that it won't target certain people based on like their genetic code or whatever.
Right.
So very specific virus.
Which works really well if you have everybody's DNA on file too. Yeah, and then after that, basically, there's, you know, more. Oh, yeah, that's right. Gordon finds out some more information about Batman. You know, he goes up to old Jim Gordon's old house upstate.
Weird cabin in the woods, which I don't think has ever been mentioned before.
It's just his retirement cabin. Everybody has a retirement cabin.
I mean, I guess. If you're an old cop, I guess you just get that when you retire.
Yeah.
It's like, here's the cabin to store plot-sensitive information 30 years from now.
Yeah. You know. So, yeah, and then... Yeah, I didn't understand, like, he's guessing passwords in that. He's all like, I gotta figure out...
Batmobile!
Yeah.
Bat files! Why is it not any of these, Grandpa?
Yeah, and then, like, he just, like, I mean, I guess he found it in the journal, because that's where he was getting all of his other password guesses, but why Bruce Wayne? What made him, like, click that together?
I don't know, celebrities who were important 40 years ago.
Brad Pitt!
That was probably next. If Bruce Wayne didn't do it, then...
I was assuming that, like, Bruce Wayne is some sort of person in this time.
I don't know, because he'd be
but
like 150 years old at this point.
Well, I'm not saying it's the same one. They just, you know, they really love naming their children after themselves. But that's what I mean,
legacy
like
Bruce Wayne.
because he didn't like show him like coming across the name
Mm-hmm.
of like in like the notebooks or whatever. He was just like Bruce Wayne, and then he's like, oh, when it
Yeah.
worked, which made me assume that Bruce Wayne was like a person in this universe.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'd assume too, I guess.
But it never cut. It never like. He also just like it worked, and then he didn't really investigate any further.
Yeah.
Like, was my grandpa just best friends with Bruce Wayne?
Yeah. And then, like, basically, somehow Batman contacts Jim Gordon, and they talk
It's through
on.
the doctor lady.
Oh, okay. Yeah. and
Which literally, Jim like calls back. He's like, "You have caller ID, you know." And she's like, "How did you know?"
Gosh, yeah. So they talk on the phone, and also Jim talks to the head federal agent guy, and he's like, being very threatening and stuff. And yeah, and then they go out and try to, you know, stop these people.
They
Just
set it up
kinda
as like, yeah, we're gonna have you come to Gotham, and then like per plot like convenience, like, well, actually, we'll just meet out at a different cabin in the woods.
Which was it a cabin in the woods even?
It was a weird like party manor in the woods.
I was gonna say like I was expecting like log cabin, but they're like you can go on up, going up
Yeah.
the stairs.
And then, like, what's the red thing? That little red ball?
Oh, it's
Oh,
one of
that's
the
the-
like helicopters that are like searching for Batman because Batman's still in Gotham.
No, the file system or it's like their USBs
Okay.
sort of
Yeah.
future technology. It looks like a flower though,
Well, yeah, there's
because they have.
there's the flower, and then there's a ball.
Oh, it's too many little future things.
It's
Yeah.
it's just a weird future thing because thumb drive's like
Okay.
too easy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, but you're right. He goes to this like cabin manor thing, and then starts attacking people. Just kind of goes ham on them.
Yeah, still no problem at like 130, 140, which is
Mhm.
completely unexplained, by the way.
He can't be old.
No, he is young. He is a young.
Look at his
Batman.
face. He's
No, look
old.
You saw him with his mask off.
Okay.
He doesn't even have any gray hair.
That's like the art style, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. He has to be old though, because there's never like any mention of like I passed down being Batman or Batman got passed down to me.
I mean, he
Maybe-
literally has Robin dressed up exactly like him. And
Well, yeah, but nobody ever gets a close look at him. Like they all see him from a helicopter.
yeah, I'm just saying, eventually a Robin will evolve if you give it enough love and attention into a Batman.
What? Like it's a Pokemon?
I'm glad you picked up
Kinda.
on that.
It's kind of like that. But yeah, basically, like, Batman just beats up all the people, and then I guess like deals with the virus thing, right?
Okay, so he beats up all the people, and as he's beating up the people, he goads the one like subordinate to the top boss dude
Mm-hmm.
into admitting that he's the one who set up for the drop off to get like messed up, kill the federal agent, and he was gonna like swoop in and get the flesh eater like plans because he knew a swap off was going on, but he found out even more because we have not addressed it, but he is a telepath, right?
Right. Yes.
Yes, which like that's really useful for all situations. Imagine being second in command. You just hear your boss like, that
Yeah.
dummy. But so Batman goads the guy into saying that, and the guy's like, "How did you know?" And Batman's like, I guessed, but you proved it."
Classic.
Yeah, that was like a very like weird like 66 to like 80 Batman where it's like I didn't know, but you guys just confirmed it. It's like, okay, convenient, I guess, but all right.
That's how you deal with villains all the time. You just guess until you're right. But Batman, what he does is he releases the flesh eater plans to the online, just like sends them out into the world. And later on, he talks about the fact that he only gave partial, so like you'd still need to work on it to make the full flesh eater, but it's like in the hands of everyone now, so like open source. And also he included the plans for the antidote.
Okay.
So
I mean, still, that seems a little dangerous.
I mean, he does note it's not the whole formula. It's
But still.
it's enough to see what it was.
Yeah, okay, I guess. I'm just like, if somebody decides to make it, it's not like, they can just be like, yes, and I have the antidote. You know who doesn't have the antidote? You weren't prepared to make the antidote because you thought that nobody was going to do it.
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. Okay.
I mean, that's pretty much the end of the story.
Yeah. Basically, it ends with, like, Gordon basically being like, oh, yeah, and here's the files on Batman from original Jim Gordon.
You're welcome, Bruce.
Yeah, you can have them, and then he runs off into the woods. Bruce.
Well, doesn't he name drops him, like, Bruce?
Yeah,
And
probably.
Batman is like, but then just runs away.
Yeah.
I don't know. Still confused.
Yeah, it does seem weird. Yes, he does name drop him Bruce. Yeah. So, yeah, not a lot of clear answers in this Elseworlds tale about who Batman is and how. My guess is that Bruce Wayne cloned himself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to look
Where?
it up on the internet. And it's like, no, I want answers. It's like, because like it could still be the first Bruce Wayne, but it doesn't make any sense why he doesn't have like any of the resources that like normal Bruce Wayne would. But if he's a
Yeah.
clone, that makes a little more sense. But it still doesn't make a whole lot of sense because like Wayne Industries still isn't like mentioned or like
Yeah.
Wayne Manor. So there could
mean-
be no resources at this point.
Yeah. I assume that there's no resources and basically a company went down when authoritarian government went up kind of thing.
I mean, maybe.
know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not. There's nothing in the text to actually say that. We're basically headcanoning this to make it make
There's-
sense.
We get so many evil guys, federal agents, like
Yeah.
Oh,
There's
which
the
might as
boss
well
man.
be like completely interchangeable, except for the psychic.
yes,
Yeah.
literally, like there's top boss man, then there's second in command who is psychic, and then there's third who's just like
From Texas.
mean cowboy.
Yeah. Mean cowboy.
He
From
doesn't even wear his hat half the time.
Although I did kind of like that,
What's
like
the point?
Batman makes a really good point. It's like, why would you ever trust a psychic in a conspiracy? Like that's like asking for a double cross. And then like everybody like looks around and is like, oh yeah, that was kind of dumb.
Also, I like, you're kind of supposed to be scared of the feds in this. The evil boss guys. You're supposed to be scared of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like, the top boss guy who's in charge of everybody else, like the first time he sees Batman on camera, he's like spitting out his coffee, and he's like, I don't know, just the moment there where he sees it on the screen, he looks like he's seen a ghost. And like that's really cool as far as like driving home how terrifying Batman can be. But also I'm just not scared of him afterwards then, like
Yeah.
the boss guy.
Yeah, I will say that is something I liked about like the first issue, where it was like it was kind of from the federal police's perspective, and it shows that like if you're just like a goon in the Batman universe, like Batman is a horror villain, like he's a movie monster.
He's so good at like doing the intimidation stuff. Do you like when they shine the flashlight on him in the one room and he hisses at them?
Yes. That was so good. Just-
And then sometimes he puts in teeth so that he can like have little chompers.
Oh yeah, that was
That's honestly what I would love to see in the Pattinson Batman. Just putting in some
Just gets a cool
ceramic
grill.
teeth.
it's like it's a little goofy, but it's just goofy enough where it's like I can see like some version of Batman doing that, where it's like, I gotta look scary.
I need to put in my bat teeth.
Cape's not doing it anymore. I gotta find something else.
Well, it makes sense. Like, it's very goofy from the point of view of Batman, because you're obviously just like, I gotta put these things in. I can't even talk when I'm wearing them. But if you're like a policeman trying to chase down someone, and they suddenly come at you and have like these realistic looking fangs, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, one of the guys who's going up against Batman is like, he's not human. Look at those teeth. That's all it took.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very effective. So yeah, we've kind of started, but like, yeah, I want to go into what we liked about the miniseries as a whole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, starting out with that one part, we've already said it, kind of, just the mythos of Batman that's built up at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I compare it to Mothman just because that's an easy word association. But, like, Mothman ain't scared of me.
Mm-hmm.
Batman, this thing's, like, crawling around on the rooftops. It's not a man, it's not a bat. Even the police, like, can't figure out who it is.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, that's definitely. I did like the part where it's like, because all the footage is being like fed to the Pentagon. I don't know, wherever the federal police are stationed, and they just have like a bunch of people like doing a bunch of analysis and trying to figure out like what's happening. Is like how excited they get is something I kind of like.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I can appreciate that too. You know, it's like they really were just all like, hey, this is so cool. And then like, yeah, then the head boss guy, the top head, he's all like, this is sick. You're acting like he's some sort of trophy. And they're like, yeah.
Isn't he? Because he's the last like unidentified unknown UU, which is a term they keep using, like to exist basically. Like he's the holy grail to them.
Yeah. Which I didn't really understand what that was supposed to mean. Like, I mean, I guess you just said it like an unidentifiable person, but like, who's the other one? Like, what does it mean? Like, what? I don't know. They didn't.
I think at one point they do say it. But it's pretty much that. Yeah, they don't have a face matched to this. I'm sure they're analyzing the face and they're like, we can't figure out who this is. We don't know who this is.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really weird when you have everybody's face classified.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I guess that also makes sense, basically, now that I'm thinking about it, that, like, basically Bruce Wayne would no longer be, like, Wayne Industries would be completely dissolved to, like, keep his anonymity, and, you know, like, if he's a clone or whatever, found a way using the Lazarus Pit, something, you know, if he's, you know, younger, his face would still be the same, though. So it's like, no, Bruce Wayne is dead because he's too old to live. And that's how you keep your identity a secret.
Yeah, just be dead, and then they can't find you.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I liked, I guess, I liked some of the mystery a little bit, like, you know, like we said, you know, the virus was really cool, and like how it was like you know, codable, and I liked kind of the way that like Batman like talked about it in that like third issue when it was like discovered. It was like, yeah, no, this is like, you know, this is really bad, and like, you know, you may not be able to believe it, Robin, but like people didn't believe about the atom bomb either until it was there. So yeah, and I just thought that was like kind of cool. And I liked how like secretive it was all, like, you know, it was in the tooth and then it was hidden in an encrypted image. Like that was cool too.
I guess I just wonder what the plan was if Batman didn't show up. Are they going to pull the tooth on the spot to get the, like, the data?
They were gonna get around to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, man, that's got to be a bad job, is to pull the tooth out of the guy. Oh, yikes.
I mean, that's coroners have to do that all the time. Right?
Well, yeah, the coroner does, but not like if Batman wasn't there when like the trade-off was supposed to go down, would they have still killed that guy?
That part.
Yeah, not at the coroner's office. Like at the actual like the original trade-off.
You hold his hand and you walk off together to the dentist.
The dentist who also has to be in on it, I guess.
No, it's just, this darn tooth doesn't match with my other teeth. Now give it to my friend the tooth fairy.
And the dentist won't like notice or mention like all the computer stuff sticking out of the tooth.
No.
I don't think
Is that covered
know.
under like HIPAA?
I mean, I think it's covered under. This is a federal police state, and
we need you to be blindfolded as you extract this tooth.
We'll do we'll do hot and cold for you to get to the tooth, and then just pull.
No. We say, yeah, you're gonna see some weird stuff. Don't say anything, or else you're dead.
I mean, they're literally saying that, like, for this tooth, the cooling system was probably in the jaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of work went into like that one guy.
And apparently he didn't even know, really. Like it's an organically grown, little USB or whatever.
Oh.
Yeah, it's weird. Because apparently, like, it won't show up, like, if you're scanned for, like, bugs or, like, technology, because the scan will recognize it as human.
Oh.
Organic, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess I kind of caught that, but I didn't really think about it. Yeah. Huh.
But yeah, also,
That's
like,
cool.
like in the, I think it was in the 4th issue, where Oracle, like, has a kind of, like, crisis of conscience, where it's like, this plan, which we don't know at the time, is like to release it out to like all rogue nations in the world. Is like it seems like it's pretty risky plan. How do we know that like this is really the best case scenario? And Robin just has to go like, you just gotta trust him, and this won't solve everything because there's always gonna be like whatever next weird super bug formula there is, and you just gotta trust that we catch that one too, I guess.
I thought that was more of the problem that Oracle was having trouble with, was the fact that, yeah, we're dealing with this right now, but there's just going to be the next one. Like,
yeah,
they're just going to find another way to end the world.
Maybe crossing the streams a little bit, but like the response is mostly just like Robin patting her on the back. It's like, just got to trust we're doing the right thing. And that's it.
Robin is so like laid back about so much of this stuff.
Yeah. He's just a mechanic. He's just doesn't. I'm just like, why didn't we see him like out doing stuff?
That would have required more
Also-
issues.
Yeah. Okay. Good point.
He did, like, that's what I mean, like, we have so many, like, villain guys, villain boss men, that they, like, have to get their own little time of, like, being mean to Gordon.
Yeah.
But did you like the technology of Robin's, well, not Robin's motorcycle, but the motorcycle Robin made that, like, reacts to Batman calling for it?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't really like notice it. I feel like, was that in issue 3?
I think it was when he was escaping the morgue/lab.
Yeah.
Okay.
So his subway area, and, like, he's telling it to deploy itself.
Oh yeah, that was cool. It kind of, yeah, and it reminded me a little bit of the most recent like Batman movie where it just like starts up out of nowhere. Yeah, that was cool. I did like that.
I don't know why I imagined, like, the recent movie was just like Alfred, like, starting it from far away.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably correct. I just, just because it was like, out of nowhere though, it kind of reminded me of that. But yeah, like, I mean, I kind of already said I really liked Batman's fake teeth. Like, that was a favorite part for me. And I liked, it is kind of like interesting, especially like, Batman kind of gets a lot of like criticism as a character for being like, I don't know, authoritarian sometimes, you know, and I like the interpretation of him as like a freedom fighter, as like, you know, a revolutionary, I guess, you know, against like police states and stuff.
I mean, I can kind of see that, but like this book is a little more reactionary than it is. Like, it seems mostly focused on how do I stop this specific plot more than like how do I stop these people from gaining any more power.
Yeah, because he was just kind of climbing around the rooftops, right?
Yeah, I guess that's like basically the only thing that I get from that is like basically the coroner lady like, you know, yelling at him and being all like, you know, this is what you know, this mission was supposed to be about, kind of thing. But yeah, we don't really get to see like visually like what he's been doing, you know. It's just this one adventure. So yeah, that is kind of a bummer a little bit.
Well, also, like, I know it sounds a little bit like we're criticizing it for being reactive, but I think also looking at that as sort of just barely able to survive because it's such an oppressive and, like, close cut battle constantly. I think that's something I really liked about it. So, like, the beginning, they have very much the, oh my god, it's the Batman, it's real. Uh, and then, like, it does go more into, like, Batman's point of view, and you can see how he's just barely able to get away, just constantly barely able to, like, get through this. He doesn't seem, even though they do say, like, oh, he must be augmented or something, he doesn't seem that superhuman. Like, even when he's breaking into the morgue, I think the tenseness of the situations are pretty good for me, because it does feel like I don't, like, how the heck is he gonna get out of this, and just barely able to get out.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. You know, it is like, it is very tense, and you know, he always feels like he's just on the verge of being caught, you know. Even in that first instance, you know, he's hiding away in the with the little boy is there, you know, and he's like, you know, he just has to trust the kid, you know, that he's not gonna rat him out.
He just has to stand behind a door and hope the police don't look there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, but did the police look like hockey players to you too?
Yes. Yeah.
They're just hockey players, right?
Okay, I can see it.
Yeah, definitely look like hockey players. I was gonna say something, I feel like, about oh yeah, it was kind of interesting, I guess, that this isn't what I was gonna say, but I got reminded. The when he's trying to remember, I liked like bringing in some of that like mysticism too, you know. He's like doing like meditation to like access his memory, basically. That was kind of cool, I thought.
And then, so that's an interesting part. I think I didn't care so much about the mysticism part, but I did like the way it slowly went through the memory.
Mm-hmm.
That careful look through. But so he goes to the memory and he's trying to remember who shot him, like this series of events as it happened. And obviously, you know, he's not really using technology.
No.
He's just recalling. And he, to the point where he realizes he can't recall the one person's face.
Mm-hmm.
And so the reveal at the end is that that guy was the telepath? Or that just the telepath is nearby?
I think it was telepath nearby.
I think.
Oh.
I think, you know, they probably wouldn't noticed if he was just wearing police uniform.
Okay.
I don't know, you're a telepath actually. Maybe you just make sure everybody doesn't think about your face.
I guess, yeah, that makes
Could
sense.
be, I guess.
Yeah, that was confusing though. I was like, I didn't understand that, like, basically what you're saying, like, you know, why, or how the telepath was like involved in that way. But I did like when he was recalling the memory, you know, when it's all like he's like really trying to focus on that face, and it's like just like a bunch of eyes and stuff. It was just like really weird, and he's like, ah. He has to like take off the blindfold. That was really cool. And like you said, Shawenta, just like the kind of ability, like he's not using technology, but he's using his brain as if it were, you know, he's like, okay, rewind, you know, go back a couple seconds, zoom in, you know, focus more on that area.
Could you zoom and enhance your own memory?
Batman can.
I mean, I guess. It happens in this comic, at least.
Yeah. You have to light some black candles and wear a blindfold and really meditate.
Get yourself in the zone. What did you guys think of how this James Gordon became commissioner of the police?
I didn't understand.
Do you mean?
Go ahead.
What do you mean?
So he used to be the like superintendent or whatever, like the like whatever
The warden.
warden at Arkham,
Oh.
and then it's revealed that like he allowed the big bad to come through and say like, hey, if you leave Arkham for a day, we'll take care of everything. And then he just goes like,
What did he think?
all
he was
right,
gonna do?
like I'm sure you will cure and rehabilitate all of these supervillains. And then
I mean,
he comes back and it's like, well, there's no evidence that anybody ever lived here. And now I'm commissioner.
yeah. I mean, it's like you have to think that he is like kind of morally responsible, especially when like the federal guy like was all like used the words like final solution basically.
Yeah, that's when you should know, like, this doesn't seem like it's like a positive solution.
Yeah. It's like
I mean, he talks about it, and he definitely seems like it's a major point in his life that happened.
Like, he regrets it, absolutely.
But he's also like, well, they were like the worst people ever. So there's a little bit of conflict there, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think, well, towards the end, I feel like he kind of has this revelation when he should have had this revelation way earlier about the fact that he's like, I was made commissioner for a reason. It's like, because they want to use me. It's like, yes, Jim.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt that way too. I was like, just now? Like,
It's like, what did you think was going to happen, like, after that?
I thought they genuinely liked me.
I don't know. When I read it, I kind of felt like, oh, this is a way to get rid of, like, having to write any of these supervillains into your story and then having to explain how they lived 100 years. I got it. All right.
Joker's son.
yeah. No, there's
Except he'd just be really old.
I mean, Clayface should definitely still be around.
Yeah. Clayface could be around. Technically, there's a character called Daughter of Joker, or Joker's daughter.
Oh,
as it
yeah.
is.
Poison Ivy probably would live, like, a couple hundred years.
Yeah. Do you think she can just like replant herself?
Maybe.
Be a plant
Oh.
person.
I want to see old villains.
Yeah, it'd be fun. It'd be fun.
Like, that's
Batman Beyond does that kind of, but not all the time.
That's what I kind of thought the reveal was going to be, is like, oh, all these like special agents are like brainwashed like former Arkham villains. And that's
that'd be cool.
not the case.
That would have been cool though.
See, I thought that Batman was going to turn out to be like some sort of like used to be villain or like son of
Oh.
a villain kind of thing. So that'd be really different.
Yeah, I kind of almost had that. Like, there was a time that like Batman like smiled real big, and I was like, Joker.
They weren't just best friends. I really like, so we kind of went over this a little bit, Flesh Killer, and like the idea that, this is such a huge problem. Like, how do you even begin to tackle like something like this kind of potential disaster? And I think Batman says at the one point, like, what is crime? Who are the criminals? Like, how do you fight crime when you're having to deal with something like this?
Yeah.
Like, it almost seems, yeah, it just, who's on your side, who isn't on your side.
Yeah, that
But,
was I liked that part too, it was like just like he's at this point in this story, he's so street level. It's not like, in this there's like a Justice League or like, any like super villains. Like, they killed all the super villains. Now the super villains are the government. And
well, to the government, the supervillains were taken care of, so now the only villains to take care of is the masked
yeah,
crusaders.
right.
Which, yeah, so his whole thing about what is crime, I feel like is really poignant in terms of, as you were talking about, Cody, like, it's a police state. They see everything. Like, what's the point of fighting crime? Like, the government sees it's happening, it's probably letting it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. And it's like, who are they planning on using the virus on? Like, obviously, like Batman, and there was one other person that they didn't know who they were. And then it's like, but who else? Like, we don't really, I mean, obviously we get a lot of indication that this government is bad, but like, who are their like political enemies, I guess,
Well, I was assuming it was more gonna be, like, against other nations kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. They do kind of name drop like the Soviets and like how that was like the better times.
Oh yeah, the Cold War was so
Yeah.
much better than this.
That one guy is like, the Soviets. Back when I was a kid, they're like, yeah, when you were a kid. That would have made that guy like 85 or something. According to like 2039.
Yeah, 'cause it would have been like,
And
yeah,
then the
86, he was a
1960s.
kid. And then, oh yeah, yikes.
I don't know, maybe they have some really good pills now. Look
Yeah.
like you're 60.
Maybe, who knows?
Or maybe police retirement plans just aren't what they used to be. Gotta keep working.
So, yeah, I wish, yeah, this is getting a little more into stuff I don't like, but like, I wish we got a little bit better, like, sense of kind of the grander scale of the world. Because, like, this is very much like in Gotham and the surrounding plot forest, but like, I wish we got more like what's happening outside of Gotham, what's the government doing, what's happening like in the rest of the world. But maybe that would have like spoiled the flow. So maybe I wouldn't have
Yeah.
wanted that.
I can't help but like compare this a little bit to The Dark Knight Rises, or Returns. Which one is it?
Returns is the comic.
Returns. Yeah, okay. Dark Knight Returns. Just that, like, it's like when you say that, it's like, oh yeah, we did get like, Superman a little bit, and him working like, not necessarily in Metropolis, but around the world, and then like Wonder Woman, like, freeing people in Vietnam and stuff like that. Like that all happens. So yeah, I think I would also like, and I'm not saying I wanted to see more other super people necessarily, but like what is going on in other parts of the world. I agree with you.
Although, to be fair, I did not read any of the like newspaper excerpts that are in this comic. And
I read the first one.
Yeah, me too. I read the first one.
Just too many
And
words.
then it was just like the same thing over and over again. I saw a
Yeah.
bat, but it wasn't a man, but it wasn't a bat.
Yeah, I mean, I basically assumed the first one like kind of gave a little bit of pretext, and then the rest of them were maybe supposed to be like what happened last issue, kind of.
Oh, maybe. See, after reading the first one, it was so much text and it was so repetitive. I was like, I'm not gonna read any more of those.
Yeah, no.
Also,
I mean,
it's very special text, which like it's cool looking, but it does you have the tiniest bit of trouble reading it,
yes,
and it adds on a lot of time and like struggle for a lot of text.
100%. That's exactly why I decided not to read them either. I was like, this is probably useless information, and it's hard to read. I don't want it. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess we could get a little bit more into what we didn't like.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
'Cause-
Go ahead.
Lost my thought.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Um, Basically, yeah. I mean, this story just kind of like it really took a long time for it to build up, and like it seems like it kind of like it gets to the point finally, and then it kind of just devolves anyway at the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the stakes are established, I think, in like the last part of the third issue, and then it's solved in the fourth issue.
Yeah.
He just breaks into the room that all the bad guys are sitting in and beats them up.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Right. Yeah, and it's like, okay, I guess. And yeah, also like along with that, like, it's interesting that at least I know you said so, Jake, and I think you too, Shawenta, that you liked the opening part in the first one. I found that like kind of boring, it's like Batman is just running, and it's like, yeah, there is like stakes, he's like on the run and they're about to catch him, and I liked that part, but I'm all like, he's just like, that entire first issue is just like huff huff, because he has a bullet wound. He's not talking to anybody. He's not like, he's just running. I'm like, all right, I guess this is just, and like also I liked the excitement of the federal police, and like trying to like catch him, but I didn't like how like, it was just like this constant barrage of voices, like I get it, they're like in this like kind of war room situation, but I'm like, this is annoying now. Like they're just talking and talking, but not saying of anything like interesting really.
I think that's like a lot of the scenes with the federal agents, because I liked the parts I remember of the first issue, which is of course the like, oh my god, we have it on camera, which like the dogs were just staring at him. He was just there. Like like you saw him on camera earlier, but of course they get the like close-up shot with him.
Yeah.
But you kind of don't know what's going on or why you care, so you kind of have trouble like understanding what's going on. Like it's the recap that really helps me understand the first issue of like, oh, Batman jumped down, he got shot, but this other guy got shot who's a federal agent, and they're blaming Batman for that. Like I definitely did not understand that happened in the first issue.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah. And so, because yeah, like I mean, it starts off with him shot basically, so like we didn't even get to see when he got shot, and yeah, it was just very kind of confusing, throwing you in there. I'm a big supporter of don't do in medias res, I'm like,
That's kind of a weird way to phrase that. I'm a supporter of not doing this thing.
You know what? If you want to rephrase it, go for it.
Don't do in medias res. There.
There we go. Okay.
Kids, stop doing in medias res.
Yeah. Say no to in medias res.
If your friends try to give you in medias res,
just say no.
Just say no. Anyway, though, yeah, just set things up, set the stage. I don't need action right at the start. I'm like, I mean that you could have started with action and like still supported it. And also, Batman is a big internal monologuer. I want some captions at least. What he's thinking.
This hurts.
This hurts. Yeah,
that rooftop's far away. I don't want to jump there.
I don't know, to be fair.
Do they ever address him, like, jumping that far? They're like, a human can't do 25-foot, like, jump.
No, yeah, no, he's just real good. Like, real good at jumping.
His cape is really good. That's all.
Yeah, they're all like, oh, yeah, it's an exoskeleton. I was like, no exoskeleton, and that's it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, but to be fair to the storytelling, like, devices of this book, it did come out, like, 14 years ago. Like, I think storytelling in comics has advanced quite a bit from 14 years ago to now. At least in, like, mainstream comics, I'll say.
What are you talking about? We've been making comics for like 60 years, man.
Well, yeah, but I mean, for the first like
It's only just
for the
started
first
getting
30
better.
of those, like they were all pretty like not great.
Okay, that's not quite true. It's complicated. There's very good Golden Age superhero stories. The Comics Code Authority came in and it was like made Silver Age stuff like really bad, and then like they kind of started like pushing the envelope a little bit, and so some Silver Age stories are kind of good, and then finally nobody cared anymore, and then it was kind of good, and then they got too excited and made things too dark and gritty, and then there was a financial collapse, and then nobody good worked for comics anymore, so it was like kind of bad, and then it started getting good again. So basically there was high and low points. So what you're saying kind of has some grounds, but also doesn't. It's very
Well, I'm gonna stick with
We
the
just
first
made
part of
comics
that.
bad back then.
Huh?
I'm gonna stick with the first part where you said my thing had some merit, and just ignore that last part.
There's a big oversimplification, and people definitely there's definitely people that knew how to do good storytelling. But yeah, I mean, I guess
I don't know. For some reason, I keep interpreting what you're saying, Jake, is like, we just liked bad comics back then.
Well, yeah, I would have been like 9 years old. I liked tons of dumb stuff back then.
Not everybody was 9. But I think maybe more along the lines of like we had different expectations for stories back then.
Yes, that's probably a better way of saying what I said.
Pretty cool. This is pretty cool that Batman can do it. Like, do you want to know why? No, it's just cool.
I just want a comic of Batman doing cool stuff.
yeah, okay. Yeah, and I can at least see, like, I know that, like, at least, superhero comic storytelling has, like, taken on a little bit more of, like, the changes that have come to, like, TV storytelling and, like, long form or even more long form stories that, like, have, like, I don't know, yeah, just the way that, like, plots are structured, basically. Like, I feel like that has come into comic book superheroes more in the last decade, basically.
Okay. If we're talking about specifically superhero comics, then I can agree a lot more with the sentiment.
Yeah, that's what I assumed Jake was
That's true,
talking
actually.
about, and
Okay.
because, like,
Just thinking about all those other things that were made,
yeah,
in comics.
definitely, yeah, that's
The other miscellaneous genres than superhero.
right, yeah, because, yeah, if you're talking about comics as a whole, then, like, even Golden Age, Silver Age, like, that has no merit because it's totally different. But yeah. Anyway, though,
This is a really rushed comic.
yeah.
Yeah. Ooh.
I think that's along the same lines you're talking about, Cody, where you're like, everybody's just talking all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that might be stylistic in some ways, but also they're just trying to condense so many different scenes.
Yeah. Yeah, there's hardly, like, any breathing room, and, like, I mean, I guess, yeah, that is one thing that I forgot to mention that I did. Like, there were some scenes where it was kind of fun, I guess, if you didn't, like, I could see somebody not liking it, but I liked the transitions where it's, like, somebody says something and then it switches scenes, and, like, the characters that are unrelated to that previous scene are saying the response that you're expecting from the past scene. So
I did not catch them doing that.
Oh,
That
really?
sounds really cool, though.
Yeah, it's like just kind of like, I mean, it's almost a little cheesy, but it's all like, like, I think there was a part where it's all like, like there's a revelation and then like it changes to the next scene and then Robin's like, that's it, and he's talking about something else, but it like relates to the revelation. I don't know. And they did that a couple of times. But yeah, it was kind of cool, but like also if it was any longer and they did it too often, it would be like, okay guys, come on, like you did it once or a couple of times.
I don't know. There are a lot of scenes where two things are happening at once. They just kind of cut in between.
Yeah.
And that works sometimes, But then when like
Mhm.
it's like Batman's going to the morgue, and then Jim Gordon is also going to the crime scene, and then Jim Gordon is looking on a computer, and Batman is summarizing the plot like in the other. It's like it happens a little too much, but I understand because it's only 4 issues. Like if these all were to happen separately, then it'd be too long.
Yeah. So 2 things. Like first thing, where that intercutting is effective is when the 2 plot lines are going to intersect in some way. And like obviously they're both like investigating the same case, but like, what Jim Gordon finds on the camera files should have significant stuff to do with like what Batman finds, but it's all like the tooth doesn't really have anything to do with what Jim Gordon sees, other than it's the guy that got murdered, like it's not connected enough for it to be intercut in that way. And then also like, yeah, this is 4 issues, but it's really like 8 issues, so it's kind of, because it's 50 pages per issue. In general, comics are like 20 to 24 pages, so it's like it's really telling.
I was wondering how they got so much in 4 issues.
Yeah, so it's really telling that like it seems like it's so like like this could have been longer, they could have used more space, but really they had 8 issues, like 1 volume of a story. 1 arc is usually like 6 to 8, so
I guess I don't understand how they have like the room, but it still feels like they condensed it.
Right, yeah, exactly.
They have 3 bosses to fight off against. Still.
Oh, that's another part I like that I forgot to mention. When like there's the weird like psychic confrontation with Batman. He's trying to like, the psychic is like prodding Batman and telling him who he is, and he just says I'm Batman all the time. That's pretty cool. And then like plugs him into the wall. Yeah, it's fun.
That was cool.
I do love the moment when like one of the people are like, "Hey, what's going on?"
It's like, whenever you're ready, we can trank him. We can solve this right now.
Like the moment like Batman's not under psychic control, you get a little head smash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was cool. I do like, even though we don't like get a lot of understanding of like how he's Bruce Wayne, or like what his history is, I do like that he is like very technically skilled. He has that like training, like he like with that, I guess that's where I was getting at with the meditation scene, was like he must have been trained to like meditate in that way to access parts of his memory that he couldn't access normally, and he is trained to resist like hypnosis and psychic stuff. And like, yeah, so I liked that, like it's like he doesn't have the tech side, he doesn't have the money, but he has like this intense training basically. But yeah, anyway though, yeah, the pacing is like really weird in this, and just, yeah, I don't know like if there's really anything else that I didn't like. The characters aren't really like fleshed out enough.
I mean, that's kind of the thing you were talking about, where like there's no breathing room because we're having to address like they can't find out who Batman is, so they can't get the Batman file.
Mm-hmm.
And then also they can't get the Flesh Eater back, but also it'll just pop back up, right, if we don't do something about Flesh Eater.
Yeah.
So we gotta do something.
Right.
And like they had to find out those were the plots
Mm-hmm.
before they could like even address them. So that was a lot of time of like discovering things. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how a story is, isn't it though? Like a lot of time has to be spent figuring out what the actual circumstances are versus what you've been told.
Right. Yeah, I think what it is though is that it's like, this is so heavily like plot driven, like we get like hardly any feeling for like why the characters are doing any of this, other than, oh, we live in a police state, so that's bad.
Yeah, like why is Robin like helping Batman build a motorcycle all the time? It's like, yeah, just because he wants to, I guess.
Didn't the doctor like when she gets mad at Batman, she's like, I didn't put up a fight when you brought in an orphan and like trained him for this. So
Yeah.
up to his old tricks.
Yeah, but I mean that's another thing though too, is that like a bunch of like the information that we get about characters and like history is from that like little monologue, which it wasn't long. It was and it was just that, like, she's angry, and so she's recapping all of the like weird stuff they've done that we didn't get to see.
I mean, it didn't even feel like that much of a revelation. It was just like I assumed that's what it was.
Right.
His name is
yeah.
Robin. He might as well be an orphan.
Right.
Said I've
Yeah.
been training for this very purpose.
Yeah.
Which, like, to go back to like one of the things I did like, so we were talking about how at the beginning, like, the police chatter is just back and forth, back and forth. It's just like, confusing, so much information to like process. And all that matters really is that Batman's just running around.
Mm-hmm.
But then later when they do the two Batman trick, them having like the constant police chatter where it's like, he's over there, he's over here. I did appreciate how it sort of used that to their advantage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. I like that more.
Which Robin was just ready to dress up as Batman, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, seemed kind of like almost excited for it, where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
man, I get to put on the suit.
Is it all those previous cases where people are like, I saw Batman climbing up my drain pipe, and it was just Robin goofing around?
Just getting practice. Never know when you're going to get called up.
Man, that kind of makes me think, do you think that, like, really in this story, Robin serves a little bit more of the Alfred role? Like, not as butler, obviously, but, like, just, like, support at home, basically, and then, like, dresses up in the bat suit to throw off the police.
I can't be Batman. Here's a picture of me with Batman.
I mean, you're joking, but that's basically what happens.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's how you tell the police that you are Batman
Yeah.
in this police state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here's a picture of you.
Here's photo evidence.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I'm questioning though. I don't think that Robin even is like necessarily like a crime fighter. I don't think he wears like the Robin suit. Like, I mean, he definitely doesn't in the book, but like, I would even wonder if he has a Robin suit in this universe.
I don't think so. That just seemed a little silly.
Yeah. A, it'd be like a little too silly for this world, and B, that this Robin is too old for that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, I'm imagining it right now.
I mean, yeah, it's not a great look.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Jason Todd was just getting a little too old for it, when he died as Robin.
That's the thing with this world. I don't think Robin... I guess, like, he's the closest thing that comes to Alfred in this case.
Yeah.
But he just kind of, like, says little snarky things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a little snarky, he's helpful, and he's a mechanic, and...
Which I guess is kind of like Alfred's role, is just like kind of snarky but helpful.
Is Alfred snarky?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
I'm just thinking back to that other comic we read with, like, Tony Stark's not Alfred.
Oh, Jarvis.
Jarvis.
Yeah, not that snarky.
That man was so snarky. That man was ready to down talk his own boss.
And original, that was the ultimate Jarvis. Original Jarvis is a lot nicer and nearly marries Aunt May.
Well, yeah, but like every old man
do.
in the
They
Marvel
just marry each
universe, like almost marries Aunt May. Like Doc Ock almost did it. J. Jonah Jameson's dad almost did it. Like
No, J. Jonah Jameson's dad did do it. He sealed the deal.
well, Otto Octavius only did it to get the Canadian like nuclear power plant that was willed to Aunt May. All right.
Yes.
I thought you were gonna say Canadian citizenship.
No, I don't think that's how that works.
Okay. Anyway, though.
Man, I thought when you said everybody almost marries. I thought you were gonna say like everyone else because that is comics.
Also true.
Also true. Yeah, it is kind of it's an action Shakespearean comedy, romantic comedy.
It's like, except the punchline isn't like, I can't marry you because I'm actually a man. It's, I'm actually a supervillain.
Yeah, pretty much actually. Yeah. Good point. Okay, but anyway, back to this story. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else that I didn't really like. It's just rushed, and like, you know, it doesn't use the space that it has very well.
Yeah, we can. That's a good way of summarizing most of the problems. Like, if we talked about more, it'd just be like specific examples of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've kind of went over this already, but just the ending in general of like resolution-wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like a resolution that just like kind of comes out of nowhere, and there are no problems with it.
Mm-hmm.
Here you go, Bruce. Here's the file on you. Keep it safe. And then, did he just smash it on the ground?
He
right
should.
then?
He should, but no, he keeps it and runs into the woods.
As you do.
It's kind of like Free Willy, you know. He just like
It's gonna say
scampers
Bigfoot.
off. Yeah, Bigfoot. Yeah.
I mean, do you want to know if this is Bruce? Like,
I'd like a little less ambiguity. Like, I'd at least want there to be like, I cloned myself, or like some indication that there could have been cloning.
well,
Even if you don't come
so
up
you
right out
want-
and say it.
You want a confirmation?
Like, I want confirmation
of your specific theory.
one way or the other. Like, I want you to say either this is the original Bruce Wayne from 1939, or I am training weird mind control, or not even mind control, like clones, to be exactly like me all the time. Like every 30 years we
It can
re-up
only be one or
on
the
a
other.
different Batman.
I think I want. I mean, almost the same. I want a confirmation that this is either old Bruce or this is not old Bruce. Like, maybe he doesn't have to tell me who it is, but just tell me like that there is something to know there.
Yeah, that's honestly that's a better point. It's like I want if you want to have the ambiguity, I want the ambiguity to serve some purpose to the story. All it serves right now is to make the reader question whether or not this is really Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything else in the story because everybody else is just like, it's Batman, and no other questions are needed.
Yeah. And it also like it kind of does the whole thing that I think is like incorrect, you know, for Batman, like is like, you know, we talked about it with the not mind control, the telepath guy. Like, I mean, I guess there's two readings of it, and I chose, you know, the one we had the same reading of it, and that's my preferred one, that it's like, you know, he is just really good at like resisting the telepath basically. But there's also the reading that he's like, he doesn't even accept the identity of Bruce Wayne at all, or whoever he is, you know, he is just Batman. But I don't really like that interpretation.
Well, I mean, because like when he's like kind of stumbling, it kind of sounds like he could start saying like Bruce. And so I think that helps the reading, but it could also be like he's just kind of stumbling over his words because he's trying to resist saying anything.
Right. Yeah.
Oh well, yeah. I assumed that he was going to say Bruce, and then he goes, Batman.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even think about the fact that he's been trained to like resist psychics or telepath, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Same thing.
I just like assumed that he just had some mental fortitude already.
Yeah, I
more
mean,
than most people.
To me, same thing. You know, not specific. I guess I wasn't meaning like necessarily specific training, but just like training to have that mental fortitude. You know, even if that was self-training. You know, just like being prepared though.
It's not going to the dojo.
Yeah.
To protect his
I was going to say the resist mind control dojo.
I mean, that sounds pretty useful in this world.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Also, like, actually, yeah, this is actually a nitpick, but something I didn't like. The computer, like, all of the computer stuff is just matrix binary code streaming on the screen. I'm like, what? No.
Yeah, I've never understood how it was supposed to be read because, like, especially in the Matrix case, because it's supposed to be the whole world, but it's like at most like 1,000 characters that are like a bit each. Like, how do you read that? What does that mean?
Tree. Green. Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, there's a little bit of, like, flim-flam technology, like,
Yeah.
just works.
I don't know. I didn't mind the hand waving of the technology, especially when it's like the police dogs that also have like cameras in their eyes. Like, don't worry about it.
No, that's fine.
think-
that's fine with me.
I think more of the problem for me was that, I don't know, a lot of this, like, it's a lot of different stuff put together. Like, it's a police state, there's, like, these vehicles going around surveilling, like, they know everybody's, like, face, ID, and, like, DNA. And then there's also psychics, which, like, I feel like would have a huge role.
Yeah.
Like, can we put up a big microphone to the psychic's head and, like, he can just surveil more people than, like, a normal computer? I don't know.
I'm not sure if
Yeah.
Do psychics to their... I think we need to take advantage of psychics more in this state. Like, really up productivity. But are they rare?
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah,
implied that they're rare, but
But
I guess I don't
Just
know.
because we have one?
yeah, and that's why, like, I really liked your idea, Jake, of, like, you know, use the, like, some of the Arkham prisoners as, like, the police, like, you know, but have them mind controlled or whatever, because, like, some of them could have powers, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know, don't use all of them. Like, honestly, Two-Face, don't need him. You don't need him for your
Two-Face is too obvious. Like,
Yeah.
everybody's gonna know immediately.
Just have him wear a mask.
Yeah, but then he's flipping the coin all the time.
Stop that.
Stop that. Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, he doesn't have any inherent benefits. He's just a guy with a problem.
Isn't that most Batman villains?
Well, yeah, most
I mean-
of them, but some of them, like, you know, you get Clayface, and he's cool.
He could
got
be
some-
anybody.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and I guess they don't need Scarecrow. They can just use his gas. Like, that's...
Yeah, that's what I thought, because, like, they kept talking about, like, the miasma projector, and nobody ever, like, says what that means. So I thought that was fear gas, but, like, then why wouldn't you, like, call it fear, or, like, have somebody say it was fear gas?
It's the fear gas.
Yeah, and then also, like, I didn't really understand, like, is it like a terrorist organization or something? It's AM something. I couldn't remember its name, but they were like, you know, basically the people that they were making the deal with for the tooth or something.
Oh, okay. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's pretty vague. Yeah, just like terrorists.
yeah.
Oh,
like,
Umbra.
Umbra, yeah.
Which is nothing, by the way. I looked it up.
Okay.
It's, unless it's like a reference to a Marvel character, which is, yeah, no.
We don't do that here.
Umbra. Yeah, so that was weird too. I was like, who's this? What is? Why should I care? Other than, terrorists.
I guess that's kind of what I meant by not just the technology, but just like the flim flam.
Yeah.
It's like throwing words at you, figured out what it means.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes context clues was just not enough,
Yeah. Definitely agree.
which also kind of made it even more cluttered feeling because there was things you didn't understand and you never were going to understand just thrown at you. And you're like, happened.
Yeah. Okay, actually, I remembered something else that I kind of liked. Batman's gadgets. You know, he didn't have a lot of them, but some of them were kind of cool looking. It's a little bit mixed though. Like I didn't like that there wasn't a lot of focus on them. You know, so it's all like Batman just pulled out this kind of blob of metal, you know, thing. But I guess it's a phone.
Yeah,
so that
it's
was
like
kind of bad.
other than that, they're all just
but-
like a bunch of tubes. Like, okay, gotta blow up a wall, bring out the tube, gotta
Yeah.
like glue up a door, which also wouldn't work. Like, I'm just gonna use some glue spray to make sure they can't kick down the door. Like, okay, they can't break the lock, but they can just kick down the rest of the door.
Well, steel.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but I feel like this like way future like police department would have a way to break down steel doors.
I mean, you just see them kicking at it.
Yeah, and I kind of
It
imagine
takes a whole day to put in the contract to get like
I
the
ima-
right equipment out. Sorry.
No, you're right. I imagined that it was like, you know, it was a spray that like, you know, and he like went all the way around all four edges, and then like it hardens, you know, super hard.
I guess to be
Yeah.
fair, it could go all the way around. You just see him do it like at the lock, so maybe
Yeah.
it goes all the way around.
I thought you saw him going around the edge of the frame.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, could be.
It was-
I'm not
it was
gonna look
pink
to
like
check.
gum though.
Yeah.
That's all I could think of. I was just like, it looks like gum.
Yeah, it didn't look like gum.
Batman's like Home Alone style
Yeah.
traps.
I mean, without money though, that'd be kind of fun too, you know, just like some homemade traps. That was like one of the better parts of Iron Man 3.
Yeah, it was fun.
All right, we won't get into that. That's fine.
Debate.
Was there anything that we should talk about as far as like negatives before we get into the art?
Not that I could think of,
Like,
but I'm sure I'll think of something.
I think, nah, let's just get an art.
Yeah. So what I'll say about like my perspective, I think that the art really sings here. Paul Pope's art and what's his name? Jose Villarubia. There we go. Villarubia's colors too are really, really good in my opinion. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of that the Daniel Warren Johnson Wonder Woman we read actually.
Yes.
Like it's like you
They
were
are both like super attuned to like action scenes, both these artists.
Yeah. But the storytelling is a little rushed and not as there. But yeah, I think, you know, it's like the art style is definitely like, you know, very like, you know, it has a little bit of that ugly quality like oh, what's his name? All-Star Superman, Frank Quitely. So yeah, it's just like a very like everybody's face is just kind of like ugh, like, you know, got a lot of like wrinkles kind of and stuff. But it's good. It's good. It's like, you know, the style kind of is like this, what's happening is ugly too, you know. And then yeah, just like the coloring and stuff like that is like really cool. You know, in the first issue, the first scene with like the dogs, you know, and they're all like black and like, you know, they're very like defined against everything else. I really liked that.
Yeah, I definitely like the design elements. Like you guys did say, like the FPC looked like hockey players. I didn't really get that impression, but it's still like kind of remind me of like Judge Dredd style like cops, where like they're super bulky, and then like the bat suit designed to look like the like very old school like 1939 Batman. You just like never get it because he's always like weirdly crouched up. Like I like some of that stuff. Some of the
Yeah.
coloring I didn't super enjoy, but overall I think I liked it pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Also, yeah, to the hockey player point, it makes sense kind of that it's like, well, you know, like if it's a police state, the police are going to have like basically riot gear all the time, and hockey players need like some pretty like protective gear, you know, too. And like the
They also just look like they're wearing jerseys. They really do to me. Am I crazy?
let me see if I can get another. I want to see. Yeah, like basically with see, and that's the thing is that like in order to differentiate them from just like you know from the back both the background and just like general you know riot gear, they have colorful stuff on them. So they have like little armbands basically like you know on their shirts, and so that makes it look like a jersey pretty much. And yeah, actually no, they even have a number on their shoulder. Yeah, that's pretty jersey like, I gotta say.
I was just like, the hockey players have gone federal.
Federal Hockey Commission.
I thought it was just gonna be like that's why I didn't totally understand what was going on too, because like I feel like the visual there, especially in the first issue, I'm like, I thought it was gonna be like Escape from New York style, just like Batman's gonna get beaten up by a few hockey players in the subway station. Yeah, the art is definitely that very like messy, ugly, gritty kind of like look, where everybody's a little bit bloated almost. It's a very, Paul Pope has done like Battling Boy. It's just like action scene and gore and stuff like that. And yeah, I do think it's suited for the situation. I've always wanted to read one of his things because his style is interesting like that. At times it is a little too messy with like the blacks, where like I do feel like you kind of don't understand. It doesn't feel consistent. And like it feels so messy that like you're kind of distracted by so much detail.
Yeah, I feel like my favorite parts are actually like the brighter elements, like with the color, because that helps distinguish the drawing a little bit better. So I like the bright color scenes more than the dark at night stuff. So I'm like, oh yeah, I can see like everything that's going on basically.
Yeah, like the little hologram. And then the 2 Batman scene where it has the spotlights. It's fun.
Yeah.
I think I think a lot of times I kind of notice which pages I want to keep. It's it's a lot of like the villains being smarmy and just like, Gordon, you're doing fine, aren't you?
Yeah, they just kick Gordon around like this whole comic, and I don't know how I feel about that. Although, like, they kick him around, and then Gordon's always just, like, wheezing out. It's like, hey, give me 24 more hours. And it's like, well, I'll send it to you in the morning. And then, well, I'm out of town, so I'll meet you at this weird cabin. But they're always like, Gordon, if you don't cooperate, we're going to take you out of a job. And then they just never do.
That's also, like, it is a little bit depressing overall because it's so much of like just barely able to survive for Batman and Gordon. I mean, it's supposed to be feeling oppressive. And I think that's also why there's a lot of like the use of the blacks.
Yeah. Definitely.
Works pretty good.
Yeah. And I just gotta say too, this art style, like it's not just the decision, like from a writing standpoint, to use the fangs, but I love how like messy the fangs look too. Like they're like pointed out in different directions. Like it's just like, like it's not like it's one thing to see somebody with fangs, but then to like be all like, and they're like messed up fangs, like, and like, yeah, just like Batman in general, like you're right, there's like some elements of the 1930s costume, Jake, but also he's like wearing these like super like laced up combat boots too, and I just like, yeah, it just works. It's really good design.
That one like cowboy federal agent, it's like the gold teeth.
Did he?
Except you only see his gold teeth towards the beginning, and then later on he has mostly just white teeth. But I love it. Just entirely gold teeth.
Yeah, I want to see that again. I'm like, will he pop up in this issue? Yeah. He had a good...
It's definitely towards the beginning of
the first issue.
Well, when he shows up towards the end of the first issue, right?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
like, get me Agent whoever.
Tibble.
Tibble. I was going to say Biddle, and I knew that wasn't right.
All I can think of is like dog kibble.
Yeah, it's a little too close to that. Like, that's another thing. Like, I wish there was ever, like, a threat to Batman. Because there really isn't in this. Like, they try to make
Yeah.
it so that, like, in the second or third issue, he's trying to get the tooth from the body and then, like, get rid of his, like, blood sample. Like, they try to make it seem like that's a threat, but, like, we've already seen him, like, escape and beat up these agents before. So nothing's really has changed except for the psychic that's there. But the psychic doesn't show up till the very end.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it. Once again, going back, you gotta release a bad guy, you know, release Killer Croc into the halls, you know?
Yeah, something that's like,
They-
Batman's like, I can't fight this. I have to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's also like Batman just can stay at his safe house and he never feels like in fear of them finding him. Like, yeah, they'll get the Batman file. And then what? Is there actually a big secret there?
I mean, because
that
even if they
they
figure out
get their
it's
hands
Bruce
on.
Wayne, what does that, like, give them? Because Bruce Wayne should be dead at this point.
Yeah.
And there doesn't seem to be any, like, assets they can freeze. And so, like, unless he's renting out these, like, the safe houses under his own name, like, what does that give them if they figure it out?
Yeah, it's a good point, and it's also like, you know, like maybe I don't know. The only thing I could think of is like, however he's like keeping himself young or whatever, you know, then they get that technology, maybe.
Knock over his fountain of youth.
Yeah.
Kick it down. I mean, I don't want to advocate for this, but man, they really could have just like pressured the one female doctor lady,
Yeah.
like, cause she literally, like, Jim is like, they probably have these lines tapped or whatever. I think he says at some point towards the beginning.
Yeah.
But then he just talks to Doctor Lady with no problem.
Again.
And, like, there's never, like, we caught you. You're talking to somebody. We're going to hunt them down now. So, you know, it doesn't feel like they're closing in.
Yeah.
Batman just sort of has to jump in. He has to go to the action
Mm-hmm.
for reasons.
Yeah. You know, I did like the lettering of the onomatopoeia. You know, there's a lot of it, you know, and it's all like very intentional and very like placed, you know, at certain like in certain ways, you know, it follows the Batmobile, and it like, you know, the impact of the bullets hitting the ground, you know, are like right by them, and you know, the dogs barking, you know, and that's like, you know, it's all like, you know, up in the panel like a bunch, so it's like it's overwhelming barking, you know, not just like some barking. And just like the general design of the letters, you know, help too, I think.
They were fun, like, especially the hologram one, like the blink, just the hologram disappearing. You could definitely tell Paul Pope did that one.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I wonder how much was the letter and how much was Paul Pope in some of
I
these.
think it's literally, in my opinion, if there's a messy outline versus if there isn't, which some of them don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense to me too.
'Cause some of them like are just too consistent versus some of them are like not at all.
Yeah. Yeah, and most of them aren't, you know, there's just a few that are like kind of clean. And it's probably like, you know, they probably drew it and then they're like, this needs a little something, you know, and like add that in there for me. Is what I imagine. But yeah. Jake, did you want to go into a little bit more like what problems you had with the colors? You said that, but didn't really
No, like I think Shawenta said it a little better, where it's like some of the blacks get a little too like busy is probably the wrong word, but like stressed, and like
It,
I kind of lumped that in with the colors, even though it's probably more a function of like line work.
Yeah, it's a little bit more of the inks.
I mean, it's like some instead of filling in Batman with like pure black, it's like they're covering it, but it's also like not following a consistent like form of Batman. So
Mm-hmm.
you're not sure what it's describing really.
Yeah, it's a
I
little.
think that's the problem.
Oh, go ahead.
I mean, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's a little too flat, basically. Like they do it well, actually. I feel like in the last scene, you can see a lot more detail. Like there's grays on the black, where he's talking to Gordon, and like of course, there's also shadows because they're in a dark forest area, but like, yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah, it definitely wasn't like a consistent problem,
Mm-hmm.
but there were times where it's like it's just kind of it was a little much. Generally, like I did like the art because it's like I've said before, I like kind of grit because I think it adds personality to to different comics. Because like if stuff's too clean, it makes it seem like I don't know, just it doesn't have as much personality as it should.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially for this like situation slash world.
Mm-hmm.
It very much works.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that I had any other thoughts though. Like, it's the art generally works. It's, sometimes the messiness is a little too much. Do you feel like, I think I mentioned, and here I'll bring back up the information so I'm saying it correctly, but this book won some awards. Do you feel like it's award worthy?
Because it won an Eisner Award for mainstream comic.
Yeah.
I'd have to look at what else came out in 2008 to be sure. But I mean,
Oh, it was actually 2006.
oh, well, point still stands. I'd have to look at what else came out. But,
Yeah.
if it's for miniseries from an established publisher, I can see how this would win an award.
It's very different.
Yeah.
Like if you said we have a new Batman comic coming out, and also it's cyberpunk, sorta futuristic.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So, oh, that's interesting. So for best continuing. Oh, okay, I see how. I was looking at a Wikipedia page and I was like kind of confused about how it was set up. But in the same year, best continuing series, 2007 was All Star Superman, which I mentioned.
Oh.
Frank Quitely art.
See, if those two had come out in the same year, I'd say All-Star Superman definitely deserved it over this. But
Yeah, well, but yeah, they both won awards though. It's just different ones. Yeah, interesting. So I guess this one or this style is this messy style is probably just really popular for that year. Also got Batman the Spirit #1 for best single issue. Yeah, interesting. So yeah, I think that in my opinion though, yeah, I think that the art is what really is what is most enjoyable about this story in this mini series. It's like Paul Pope gets to draw some cool Batman and some weird future cops that kind of look like hockey players. At first I was like, my intuition said yes, and then Jake had me doubting it, and then I looked back and I was like, no, those are hockey players, like can't can't argue. And then and yeah, just some weird like future stuff, like, making it like kind of almost like Blade Runner-esque, lots of neon signs and stuff like that, and dingy and
It's
dirty.
way more neon signs.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's the art is what sings here, basically.
It definitely comes together as his vision.
Mhm.
Like, he did the writing and the art, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it would have been the same if somebody else did the art.
Oh yeah, definitely wouldn't be the same. It'd be a lot. I think it, like, even if it was like still a good artist, I think that it wouldn't be nearly as enjoyable because I didn't really enjoy the story all that much. So it'd be all like, it just wouldn't match, I guess.
I think I like the elements of the story. The resolution really leaves something to be desired. As far as I'm like, wow, where's this going? Is Batman 100 years old? Oh, doesn't matter.
Yeah, for sure. I agree that it's like, basically what you said, it's like the beginning just was a little bit too much like, what are you doing? Like, I don't see where we're going. And then I did see where we were going. Okay, we have a problem to solve. And then it's just like, it doesn't matter. And like, also like, the characters don't really matter. It's like, dang. But yeah, I want more. I think that the idea is interesting. Just doesn't totally give it to me. Yeah.
I'd be interested in reading more Paul Pope for sure. Paul Pope Batman? Maybe? I don't know. Like, let's find out if Batman's 100 years
Yeah,
old.
I want a one-shot that just answers, like, is this Bruce Wayne or not?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes me think of, like, Batman Beyond and how, like, there is just, I think it was, like, a Justice League crossover episode that made it so that Terry McGinnis was, like, a Batman clone or whatever.
It wasn't the crossover episode, but it was, like, in Justice League.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, it was, like, basically, like, that kind of thing for this. It's like, give me answers.
Like, I have one question. I will pay for the one shot to answer this question.
Yeah. But what would it be?
No, pay to win comics. To unlock this secret, pay $5 extra.
I mean, how different is that than the call in and vote, Just
on like what answer do you want?
yeah.
Oh man.
I thought that they just decided this already. Like, sure, you voted for
There's
it.
probably like a draft of this that like Paul Pope had written that probably answered this question, and
Yeah,
they just decided to take it out.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, publisher, Paul Pope, who knows?
Yeah, somebody on the team that published.
Darn the deep state comics.
I don't know about that.
Keeping the truth.
Stuff gets cut out. I'm not gonna.
But no, yeah, I mean, like, I was joking.
I was about to make a joke that this is like, that's the whole thing of the Batman story, right? Batman needs to keep his identity a secret, so he steals the secret from this comic issues.
But we already know. We know like 90% of his identity.
You don't know what you don't know. It's really gonna blow the whole thing wide open. But then he took it. Gordon just gave it to him.
Oh my god.
Meta. But only if you make it meta.
Yeah, only if it's that's as meta as you can get though.
Your character's stealing the idea from the author.
Do you want the very end where Gordon like starts to go on a monologue about all the answers to the issue and it just has like pages torn out?
Oh, like he starts and then this is like page tear?
It's like Batman torn out or something.
Oh.
Yeah. Also, what would the one shot be called? Would it be Batman Year 101?
Yeah, probably.
Oh man, I think that's so dumb. I was joking.
Or Batman Year 99. And then it's like
Batman Year. Oh, is it gonna go like prequel?
Maybe, and like explain like, okay, I'm getting too old now. I gotta get replacement Batman in.
But only because I'm 99.
Yeah.
No, see, it was gonna be Batman Year 100 subtext +1.
See, that's worse than just 101.
That is,
I know.
That is worse. Yeah. Okay, I like it. That's worse. Also, just want to chime in, even though it was originally going to be a joke. I want more vote comics. I vote for the ending. Not super often. Not every comic should be that way, but like, just a couple times, and they're doing it. They did vote for who you want to be in the X-Men. That's cool. I just think it's something they should do more. Random opinion.
How do they do that? Do they put it in the comic issue?
Yeah, I mean, basically they hype it up for like a couple months in online, and you vote online.
Oh, okay, so they do just like Twitter poll.
Yeah, pretty much. More or less. I mean, you have to go on the website, but yeah.
Fill out a Google survey. Is Batman A clone? B, not Batman. I don't know. C,
Yeah.
double agent.
Clone, but still somehow Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
A clone that doesn't know that he's Bruce Wayne's clone.
Oh yeah, just like
doesn't even know he's Bruce
generic
Wayne.
clone, but like Bruce Wayne keeps like mind swapping into empty clones.
Oh, that'd be the
So
worst.
it's still Bruce Wayne, but it's also a clone.
Okay.
Man, I'm like, has Damian Wayne been created yet? Yeah, he has. Or maybe he was created right at the same time. He was created in 2006, so same year.
Oh my god.
Man, it's
I thought you just had like those characters like laying around since like the 90s or 80s.
oh no, not Damian. Is Damian the newest? No, Signal's the newest.
Technically.
What do you
telling
mean,
me that they
technically?
didn't have like
Okay, he's the newest Bat family member. He's not necessarily a Robin.
Okay, fair enough.
When did the first Robin come out?
Hold on, I got this. I got it. Robin. 1940. Detective Comics number 38.
Huh.
So one.
So you're telling me they didn't have 4 more versions of Robin ready to go at that same time?
No, because geez, when would a Jason Todd have showed up? Like 70s, 80s? I'm gonna be super wrong.
1983.
Yeah, super wrong.
I mean, you said 70s, 80s. You gave yourself a wide.
I threw
right.
myself an extra decade as a bone.
Yeah.
In conclusion, I would read more of this.
More Paul Pope, yes. Paul Pope Batman, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I would.
I would.
See him put on the fangs again and fight more telepaths.
Yeah, I can only imagine that it would be like the sequel to Dark Knight Returns. And like that was just significantly worse than Dark Knight Returns.
Oh yeah, it was. And then the third one also came out and was bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's why I feel like this would be. It would be like, oh, we're expanding the universe. We're doing what you wanted. You want to know more about like what's going on, and it's just like not good at all. That's what I feel like.
I mean, that's the problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's best when you get to decide what it is, what actually fits with what you think it should be.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, why don't comic companies make comics just for me?
Yeah. So yeah, basically, I mean, I'd be okay with Paul Pope drawing and like maybe doing like a main universe Batman. That might be cool.
Maybe
Just
for a
like
variant
telepaths.
comic. I don't know about a whole issue.
Just to cover it. I think it could be
I
cool.
just want more telepaths.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Also, one thing that I didn't mention while we were talking about the art that I just want to say is that Batman's design also reminded me of I think it was Gerard Way wanted to do like a Batman thing, and it was very influenced, I could tell, by Batman Returns, I feel like. And it was like every character, Batman, like Nightwing, like they all got like drastic redesigns, basically, and it was cool redesigns, but also people would have been so mad. So I'm gonna send those out later and show you guys, but yeah, it reminded me of this too. But yeah, basically I like Paul Pope's artwork. I'd like to see more of it. I wouldn't necessarily. I am with Jake. I'd like to get answers a little bit, like in my heart, but I wouldn't like a comic that gives me the answers, because I'd probably be unhappy with them. Yeah, and I think that's all we have for the show. So thanks everybody for listening. This has been the Comic Panel. I'm Cody.
I'm Jacob.
And I'm Shawenta.
And we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening. You can catch our show as it airs on Mondays from 5 to 7 p.m. on KSUA 91.5 FM, the People's Radio in Fairbanks, Alaska. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Comic Panel, It's Comic Time. You can find The Comic Panel anywhere you listen to podcasts. Find us on Facebook at It's Comic Time, Instagram at _comic_panel, and Twitter at The Comic Panel 1. There, you will get updates on when we air on KSUA and when an episode is uploaded to YouTube and to the podcast. Have a great rest of your day.